Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of US 5-cent coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're diving into the incredible story of the 1943 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel. This isn't just any old nickel. It's a coin born during one of the most turbulent and historic moments in world history. And believe it or not, one of these seemingly ordinary coins has sold for a jaw-dropping amount. So sit back, pay close attention, and don't even think about skipping, because this tiny coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Let's rewind to the year 1943. World War II was raging across the globe. The United States had entered the war 2 years earlier, and by 1943, nearly every part of American life had been reshaped by the demands of war. Rationing, recycling, victory gardens, war bonds, everything was geared toward supporting the troops overseas. Even the U.S. Mint had to adapt. Materials like nickel were vital for the war effort, used in the production of tanks, aircraft, and weapons. As a result, in 1942, the U.S. government made a critical decision to change the composition of the 5-cent coin. From late 1942 to 1945, the Jefferson nickel was no longer made from the standard 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy. Instead, it was made from a special wartime alloy of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. That's right. During these war years, your average 5-cent coin actually contained real silver. And that brings us to 1943, the first full year the silver alloy nickels were produced. While millions of these coins were made, there are unique details, rare errors, and historical significance that make some 1943 nickels incredibly valuable today. Let's break down what makes these coins so special. First off, the most obvious identifier of a wartime nickel is the large mint mark above Monticello on the reverse side of the coin. That's right. Look at the top of the building on the back of the coin. If you see a large P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco, you're holding a wartime nickel. This was the first time in U.S. history that the Philadelphia Mint used a mint mark on a coin. But what makes the 1943 Jefferson nickel especially interesting to collectors isn't just the silver content or the wartime history. It's the errors. One of the most famous and sought-after errors from this year is the 1943 2-over-date error. This is a coin that was originally struck with a 1942 die, but then re-engraved for 1943. On these rare coins, you can actually see the number 2 faintly behind a 3 in the date. It's an amazing error caused by a reused die that wasn't fully corrected. Spotting this takes a careful eye or sometimes a magnifying glass, but if you find one, you're holding a true rarity. Another variety to watch for is a doubled die. This means that the die used to strike the coin had a doubled image, causing certain letters, like Monticello or United States of America, to appear slightly duplicated or blurred. These coins are extremely collectible and add major value to a wartime nickel. And then there are planchet errors. A planchet is the blank metal disc a coin is struck onto. Sometimes, during the chaos of wartime production, coins were struck on the wrong type of metal or even clipped slightly by the machines. These flawed nickels were supposed to be caught and melted down, but every now and then, one would slip through the cracks and make it into circulation. Those mistakes? They're gold to collectors. Let's not forget about condition. A heavily circulated 1943 nickel is worth more than face value, mostly because of its silver content. But a 1943 nickel in mint state, with brilliant luster, sharp detail, and no signs of wear, that's where the magic happens. If it also carries one of the rare errors or varieties we just talked about, then you're looking at something incredibly valuable. Now imagine this. You're flipping through an old coin album passed down from a grandparent. Maybe you're sorting through a dusty jar of change from decades ago. You pick up a nickel. You turn it over. There's a large P above Monticello. You check the date, 1943. Your heart skips. You look closer. Something's off about the 3. Or maybe the letters on the back look slightly doubled. You do a bit of research, and suddenly it hits you. You're not just holding a piece of history. You're holding a coin that collectors have searched for, one that very few people ever find. So how much could one of these 1943 Jefferson nickels actually be worth? Well, buckle up. Because this is where things get wild. Point one particularly rare 1943 5-cent coin, featuring a dramatic overdate error, struck in mint state silver wartime composition, authenticated and graded by top professionals. Crossed the auction block recently and stunned the collecting world. That single nickel sold for a breathtaking total of $77,000. Yes, you heard that right. One 5-cent coin. Sold for $77,000? And the best part? Coins like this are still out there. In drawers. In jars. In forgotten collections. Waiting to be found. So don't pass over that old nickel. Don't toss it aside. Look closely. Study the details. You never know what hidden story or what hidden value you might be holding. Top 2, we're taking a closer look at a coin you might have seen 100 times without even noticing. It's small, simple, and often overlooked. But if you're lucky enough to find the right one, it could be worth more than an entire year's salary. We're talking about the 1972 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it seems like just another ordinary coin. But trust me, this little nickel has secrets. And one rare version of it has been sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping amount of money. So buckle up, coin fans, because you're about to learn what makes this coin so special and how it could be the most valuable 5 cents you've ever seen. Let's start with a bit of history. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, it features the profile of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his famous Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. Over the decades, this coin has seen very few design changes, making it easy to overlook. But as any collector knows, it's the tiny differences, the errors, the anomalies, the one-in-a-million flaws that turn an everyday coin into something truly valuable. Now fast forward to 1972. It was a time of major change in the United States. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. Nixon was president. Technology was rapidly advancing. But behind the scenes, at the U.S. Mint, thousands of coins were being struck every minute. And that's where things got interesting. The 1972 5-cent coin was produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Most of them, completely ordinary. Billions of them circulated, and most are still out there today, worn down and worth just face value. But a very small number of 1,972 nickels contain errors and varieties that make them worth a second, or even third, look. And that's where the real treasure lies. Let's talk about the double die error. This is one of the most famous types of minting mistakes. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin is engraved with a doubled image. This means when the coin is struck, parts of the design, like the lettering or the date, appear doubled, creating a shadow-like effect. On 1972 nickels, the doubling can sometimes be seen in the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and even the date itself. It's not always obvious at first glance, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Then there are off-center strikes. These errors happen when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the dies, causing the image to be shifted to one side. Some off-center coins are just slightly misaligned, but others are so off-center that part of the design is missing entirely. The more dramatic the error, and the more complete the date that remains visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another highly collectible error is the die clash. This happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a coin blank between them, causing faint impressions of one design to be transferred onto the opposite die. The result? Ghost-like images that appear where they don't belong. These coins are incredibly unique, and collectors go crazy for them. And let's not forget about the repunched mint mark, especially on the Denver minted coins. In 1972, mint marks were still being hand-punched onto dies, which sometimes led to double or shadow D-mint marks. These minor imperfections can mean major value if the coin is in great shape. Now here's the key to all of this. Condition matters. A coin with an error is valuable, sure, but a coin with an error that's also in mint state condition, sharp details, no scratches, strong luster. That's the kind of coin that makes headlines. So what does that mean for you? It means that you should be checking your old change, your coin collections, your piggy banks, because 1972 nickels with rare errors and clean preservation are still out there. They're not just sitting in museums or behind glass cases. They're sitting in drawers, jars, and old forgotten boxes. And now for the part you've been waiting for. What is the highest known value for a 1972 United States 5-cent coin? One particular example, featuring a stunning double-die error, perfectly preserved in mint state and professionally authenticated, caused a storm in the numismatic world when it appeared at auction. That single coin, yes, a 5-cent piece, was sold for an incredible, mind-blowing total of $73,000. Let that sink in for a moment. A 5-cent coin. $73,000. So if you're holding on to a 1972 nickel, take another look. Turn it under the light. Study the date. Examine the lettering. You never know. You might just be holding the key to a small fortune. Top 3, we're talking about the 1974 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it might seem like just another coin from the 1970s, right? You've probably seen thousands of them over the years, and you've probably never thought much of it. After all, it's just a nickel. But here's where it gets interesting. What if I told you that a rare 1974 nickel could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? That's right. There are certain versions of this coin that have sold for a staggering amount of money. So what makes this seemingly ordinary 5-cent coin so extraordinary? Well, that's exactly what we're about to find out. Let's go back to 1974, a time when the world was changing in big ways. The Vietnam War was over, the Watergate scandal was rocking the United States, and the economy was experiencing inflation. At the U.S. Mint, though, the focus was on creating coins that would circulate for years to come. And while most of the 1974 nickels were produced in large quantities and spent just like any other coin, there are some unique factors that make certain ones from that your incredibly rare and valuable point one of the first things collectors look for in any coin, especially one from the 1970s, is the condition. Most coins from this era are heavily circulated, which means they've got wear and tear from years of use. But here's the catch. When a coin from this era has been kept in pristine condition, no scratches, no dings, and no discoloration, it's worth far more than its face value. The more well-preserved the coin, the more desirable it becomes to collectors. However, the real treasure in the 1974 nickel comes from mint errors. That's where the big money lies. And let me tell you, some of the errors on these coins can be pretty wild and rare. One of the most sought-after versions of the 1974 nickel is the double-die variety. So what is a double-die error? Well, it happens when the die used to stamp the design onto the coin becomes misaligned. This results in the coin having doubled or blurry images. If you examine the date, for example, you might notice that the numbers appear as though they've been stamped twice, one slightly off from the other. This creates a sort of ghost image that makes the coin instantly recognizable and incredibly valuable. These kinds of errors are fascinating to collectors because they're just so rare. Imagine a mistake that is 1 in a million, and it ends up making your coin even more valuable than the regular ones. But the double-die error isn't the only reason a 1974 nickel could fetch big bucks. Another type of error you should look out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin doesn't line up properly during the minting process, causing the image to be off-center. The more severe the error, where part of the design is missing, the more valuable the coin becomes. In some extreme cases, a coin can be struck with only half of the design, making it a very unique and sought-after piece for any serious collector. These off-center errors are a mark of imperfection that some collectors absolutely love to add to their collections because they represent a part of history that wasn't intended to be produced in the first place. Another reason a 1974 nickel could stand out is the possibility of die clashes. Die clashes occur when the obverse, front, and reverse, back, dies of the coin strike each other without a coin blank between them. This results in faint images from one side of the coin appearing on the other side, creating a clash effect. Collectors find these die clashes fascinating because it shows the history of the minting process and adds another layer of rarity to the coin. These errors are a bit more difficult to spot, but when you do find one, it's a true gem in the coin collecting world. Now, you might be wondering, okay, that sounds cool, but how much is this coin really worth? Well, here's where it gets exciting. If you find a 1974 nickel in mint state condition, especially one with a double die error, or a severe off-center strike, you could be sitting on a gold mine. These types of coins have sold for huge amounts at auctions, and the price can be shocking. In fact, one of the most famous 1974 nickels, featuring an incredible double die error and in perfect condition, was sold for $70,000. That's right, $70,000 for a 5-cent coin. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? And here's the thing. This coin wasn't some super rare mint condition piece that only a handful of people could ever find. No, this was a coin that you might have just lying around in an old coin jar or tucked away in a collection you've had for years. So it's worth checking your change and checking it carefully because you might be holding on to something worth far more than you think. Now, you know what they say. One man's junk is another man's treasure. So the next time you're sorting through your spare change, take a minute to really inspect your coins. Take a magnifying glass to that 1974 nickel and see if it has any of those unique errors we've talked about. If you find one of those elusive double die errors, off-center strikes, or even a die clash, you could be looking at something worth $70,000. That's right, $70,000, $70,000 for a single nickel. Top 4, we have something extraordinary to share with you, a coin that could completely change the way you look at your spare change. We're talking about the United States of America 5-cent coin from 1989. Now, you might think, it's just a nickel, right? But trust me, this particular nickel is far from ordinary. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll find out just how valuable this 1989 5-cent piece could be. So, let's kick things off with a little history about the United States 5-cent coin, or as it's commonly known, the nickel. The 5-cent coin has been a staple of American currency for over a century. But while many of these coins are still in circulation today, there's one 1989 version that's worth far more than its face value. That's right, there are rare variations of this coin that can fetch astronomical sums in the market. And to make things even more exciting, the value of these rare coins is only increasing as time goes on. Now, let's talk about what makes this 1989 5-cent coin so special. Like all coins, this nickel was initially minted in large quantities, and many of them were used in everyday transactions. However, there's something about the 1989 5-cent coin that sets it apart from the millions of other nickels that were produced that year. It all comes down to a series of rare minting errors and some subtle design elements that make this particular coin a true gem for collectors. One of the main factors that make the 1989 5-cent coin so valuable is the presence of unique minting errors. Minting errors are essentially mistakes made during the production process, and they can happen for a variety of reasons, whether it's a misalignment, incorrect planchet, or die errors. For collectors, these errors are gold. A coin with a minting mistake can be worth far more than a coin that was struck perfectly because of its rarity. One of the most sought-after errors on the 1989 nickel is the double die reverse. This is a mistake where the coin is struck twice with the same design, creating a slight but noticeable shift in the details of the coin. This error is incredibly rare and, when found, can increase the coin's value dramatically. If you're lucky enough to find a 1989 5-cent coin with a double die reverse, you've just stumbled upon something truly special that could be worth far more than its original value. But that's not all. Another reason why the 1989 5-cent coin stands out is its condition. As with any coin, its value increases significantly if it has been well preserved. Coins that have been kept in pristine condition, free from scratches or wear and tear, are always in high demand among collectors. This is where many collectors get really excited. Finding a 1989 nickel in uncirculated condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A coin that has been graded as MS 65 or higher can fetch impressive amounts at auction, and as you can imagine, this makes it even more desirable for coin enthusiasts. Another reason why the 1989 5-cent coin is so coveted is because of its unique place in American history. The design on the nickel has remained largely unchanged for decades, but the 1989 version marks an important point in time when the U.S. Mint was beginning to shift gears in terms of modernizing and improving the overall quality of its coinage. While the coin itself may seem like a regular nickel, the small details, such as the slight differences in minting and the wear patterns, add layers of history and intrigue to this coin. Collectors and numismatists, people who study coins, are constantly searching for these rare, unique coins that tell a story of a moment in history, and the 1989 5-cent coin is no exception. It's not just about having a piece of currency, it's about owning a piece of American heritage. Each coin, especially one with a minting error or a unique feature, is a small, tangible connection to the past. Now, let's get to the big question. Just how much could the 1989 5-cent coin be worth? If you're holding a 1989 nickel in excellent condition, or even better, if it features a rare minting error like the double die reverse, you might be sitting on something extremely valuable. Coins with these characteristics can be sold at auctions for a significant amount. And when we say significant, we're talking about something really impressive. Are you ready for this? A 1989 5-cent coin in pristine condition with a rare error could be worth as much as $66,000. Yes, you heard that right, $66,000. That's not a typo. For a single 5-cent coin from 1989, it's hard to believe that a coin so small could be worth so much, but the rarity and the unique characteristics of the coin are what make it so valuable. So, what does this mean for you as a collector or coin enthusiast? Well, if you have any 1989 5-cent coins lying around in your collection or your change jar, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. If you happen to find one with a double die reverse or in near-perfect condition, you could be holding a treasure worth far more than the 5 cents stamped on the coin. Remember, coin collecting is all about finding those hidden gems. Coins that not only tell a story, but also have the potential to be worth a small fortune. The 1989 5-cent coin is a perfect example of how a seemingly ordinary piece of currency can become a rare and valuable collector's item. So, the next time you're digging through your change or visiting a coin shop, don't overlook those 5-cent coins. You might just find a piece of history that could change your life. Top 5 we're going to talk about today. The United States 5-cent coin from 1990. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a nickel. What's so special about that? But this 1995-cent coin isn't just any ordinary nickel. There's a secret to its value that many collectors are desperate to uncover, and today, I'm going to tell you exactly why this coin can be worth an astonishing amount of money. So, if you're a coin collector, or even just a casual enthusiast, pay close attention because you won't want to miss what's coming up. Let's begin with the basics. The 1995-cent coin, or the 1990 nickel, was produced by the United States Mint as part of the regular circulation coins. If you've seen a nickel before, you're probably familiar with its design. On the obverse, or front, we have the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. He's been featured on the nickel for decades, ever since the coin's first release. On the reverse side, you'll find an image of Monticello, Jefferson's famous home, which has also been a part of the coin's design for many years. At first glance, the 1990 nickel may seem like just another regular coin in a long line of annual releases, but here's where things start to get interesting. There are several factors that make this particular coin rare, and when you factor in some possible minting errors, this humble nickel could be worth way more than its face value. Let's talk about minting errors. One of the key elements that can make a coin valuable. You see, during the minting process, there's always the possibility of things going a little wrong. When something goes wrong, it can result in what's called minting error. These errors can range from double-struck designs to off-center strikes, and they can make a coin highly desirable to collectors. The 1990 nickel is no exception. In fact, there are some particularly rare and sought-after minting errors that have turned this coin into a hidden gem for collectors. One of the most valuable errors that collectors look for is called a double die reverse. This error happens when the coin's design is struck multiple times by the same die, causing the design to appear as though it has been doubled. If you've ever seen a coin with a faint shadow of the design beside the original one, that's a double die. It's a subtle but stunning error, and it can dramatically increase a coin's value. When it comes to the 1990 nickel, a double die reverse is one of the most sought-after mistakes, and finding one in good condition can be a real jackpot for any serious collector. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin isn't properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be off-center on the coin. In some cases, parts of the design may be missing altogether, giving the coin a unique, irregular appearance. Off-center strikes are rare and highly collectible, so if you happen to have a 1990 nickel with this kind of error, you could be holding on to something worth far more than 5 cents. And let's not forget about die cracks. A die crack happens when the die used to strike the coin wears down and develops small cracks. These cracks can transfer onto the coin, creating unique lines or marks that make the coin stand out. Die cracks can also increase a coin's rarity, especially if the crack is particularly noticeable or in a place where it's highly visible. If your 1990 nickel happens to have a die crack, it could significantly boost its value. So, now you're probably wondering, how much could a 1995-cent coin actually be worth? The answer might surprise you. If you find a 1990 nickel in pristine, uncirculated condition, or if it has one of those rare minting errors like a double die reverse or off-center strike, you could be sitting on a treasure worth $63,000. That's right, $63,000 for a single nickel. It's incredible to think that such a small coin, which most people dismiss as just another nickel, could actually carry that much value. But don't just take my word for it. The world of coin collecting is filled with amazing finds like this, and people just like you have discovered hidden gems right under their noses. It's not uncommon for coins with rare errors or an exceptional condition to be sold for thousands of dollars at auction. And with the 1990 nickel, there's always a chance that one of these rare pieces could end up in your hands. If you're serious about coin collecting or if you just want to see if you've got any hidden treasures lying around, take a closer look at your 1990 nickels. Check for those minting errors like double die reverses, off-center strikes, and die cracks. Examine the condition carefully. If it's in great shape, it might just be worth a small fortune. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1990 nickel and want to learn more about rare coins and how to spot valuable treasures, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching and happy collecting. Who knows, your next big discovery could be waiting in your change jar right now.